Big thank you to Stella for our gourmet breakfast this morning. The gift that keeps giving is our Stella. It's really very, very special to be able to celebrate Hanukkah, be able to celebrate goodness, be able to celebrate the wonder that is this amazing group of people. I think we're going to need a bigger building. What do we think, Mr. Velsman?
Well, I've got it in the back.
It is amazing to see so many of you here, everyone here today. And it's also a bit overwhelming because, as I said to a few of you, I hope nobody's here because they want answers. Because as you know, from coming for the last few months together, I have lots of questions and no answers. But we'll share the questions, we'll share the thoughts. Unbelievably, I've had so many messages and emails this week before what happened yesterday. So we've got some beautiful ideas to share. But our learning today is going to be as a merit for the Refuah Shalema of Yonatan ben Sipora, Yaakov Dov ben Penina, Kayamushka bas Shtarna Sarah, Reuven ben Manya, Faivel Eliezer ben Dobra Bela Halevi, Yaakov ben Etel, Arsan ben Amelia, Yaakov Halevi ben Miriam. For all the lives that have been lost in Sydney, for all the families affected. And we know that a family affected means everyone in their community, everyone in our community, and everyone around the Jewish world, because we are one family. And whether the attack takes place in Israel, in Manchester, or in Sydney, we are one. And that message of oneness and unity is what's going to keep us feeling pain, because it hurts when someone in your family is hurt. And it pains when someone in your family has been killed. And every single one of us has lost a family member, whether we knew the people or not. And that is the incredible privilege of being part of our people. And it's the really, really painful, difficult journey that we're all on. And I think the first thing to say today is that it's okay that we're all not okay, because none of us are. Someone just shared with me now a gorgeous new phrase that she's coined called aggressive self-care. I think it's wonderful because normally aggressive is the wrong thing to do. We're not aggressive. We don't want to be aggressive. But right now, this is part of our self-care. But every one of us knows what we need to do to look after ourselves. And I shared a little bit last time about a class, that some training that we went to that was talking about self-care and dealing with anxiety. And they asked about things that you can do to look after yourselves. And, you know, I said in very much in jest, she asked, what can you do to make yourself feel better? And my response, those of you who know me well will know, was chocolate. And I thought that was a great, funny response. But she said, no, you're right. You know, this is the season of donuts and latkes. And of course, we need to look after our health. But whatever it is that gives us that pleasure, that allows us to feel a little bit more okay. Hugs, you know, whether it's a hug in a mug, like a lovely hot chocolate, whether it's a hug from someone that we love. We all need whatever we need right now, and everyone is different. Everyone's different. I have a friend who goes jogging every morning at 5 in the morning. That is not me. I couldn't think of anything worse. But for her, that's her self-care. She's a Rebbetzen. I think it's really cool. But like I said, not me. I'm going to start by sharing some of the beautiful letters that have been sent in. Those of you who were here last time, we had spoke about, learning together some sources and a booklet, and it's just not right for today. Maybe in January, if we think that that's something we might try, but for the time being, I think we're going to have I think we're going to meet next week, and then we'll have a week off for the winter holidays. But maybe when we come back afterwards, we'll look. It's a beautiful patch prepared by the United Synagogue, and we will be looking at some of the ideas together. But thankfully for me, I've had the most incredible letters sent in this week. And I really think that what makes this space so special is hearing your voices, not just when we do open up for discussion, which I know we don't do very often, but actually hearing your voices when you write in. So please, please keep them coming. If we think about aggressive self-care or self-care, I think that actually putting things on paper does help. And those of you who've done that will know that feeling of, it doesn't need to be eloquent and it doesn't need to be perfect, but just express how you're feeling. And actually to have that for yourselves as something to look back on in a few months' time is something that's very powerful as well. So we'll start with the first, it's not in any particular order. Dear Jacqueline, I planned to write this before today's dreadful news. It was meant to be a reflection on my journey through your Emunah Monday meetings. Now I feel writing about my personal journey is of little relevance, and I find myself wondering, how will we ever come out of this nightmare of anti-Semitism that seems to be all around us? The light of Hanukkah somehow is not reaching the rest of the world. Asking why this is will not give us an answer. It was always thus. This continual attack on our people makes it impossible to forget that there is so much evil in the world. At the moment, our light is not shining brightly enough. My prayer and hope is that our faith will be strengthened, and that in gaining strength and support, our light will shine ever brighter and spread more widely into every corner. So I think this really reflects probably, I would think, how many of us are feeling. We speak so often about our light and that we are the light and we are the good. And yet evil still exists, and evil still keeps not even creeping up, but, bombarding us. And nobody has missed the, coincidence that we had an attack on Simchat Torah. We had an attack on Yom Kippur. If you remember, even a few years ago on Meron, that was in an accident, but this terrible tragedy was on Lag BaOmer. And of course, we had on Yom Kippur at Eaton Park, and now on Hanukkah. We can think about it in terms of strategy and politics and the evil forces in terms of how clever they are and they know when our weak points are. But this isn't really the space for that. I really don't know or begin to know or understand. Of course, they know what they're doing. Of course they do. But we can also think about it in terms of spiritually, in terms of, God runs the world. What is his plan? Why are these things happening at such key moments in our lives, in our year? And as I said, I don't know. I don't know. But there must be a message there because it keeps happening. Yeah, there must be something that we are being told. And that's our challenge, is to find Hanukkah. I mean, the response is obvious in terms of what was the Battle of Hanukkah about? The Battle of Hanukkah was about Jewish identity, fighting against assimilation, being proud of who we are, not letting the culture around us overtake us, not becoming like them. So we will do that more, right? We will do that more. We will come to Hanukkah gatherings. We will light our menorah in each of our homes. We'll talk about how proud we are to be Jewish. We'll commit more to doing more Jewish things. But why? Why this happened on the first night of Hanukkah? In the first place in the world where Hanukkah comes in? Don't know. So this is an email that was sent before yesterday. The next few ones were sent before, but I'm going to share them with you because they're, like I said, very powerful to hear from other people. Dear Jacqueline, thank you so much for another wonderful and thought-provoking session on Monday. You brought anxiety into the discussion as well as the need for a more silent world. I totally empathize. We live in a very unpredictable world. I often think about everything which is going on around the world. I've pondered on whether any of us are safe with all the evil which is being wrought in so many places. So many people in different countries suffering. So many so-called leaders who care little about their people, who are only interested in their own self-aggrandizement. And then there was October the 7th. My anxiety levels reached a new height. I, together with probably every Jew, sought and watched every piece of news which was available. We became obsessed. And then I reached a point where I couldn't watch or listen anymore. All the news channels were sucked into the lies. Every conversation with anyone about October the 7th and its aftermath. Social media is full of it. Radio programs caused me to stress out. So I switched off from them soon after October the 7th. I personally have reached saturation point. Gradually, over the past few weeks, I've cut myself off from all the dreadful news everywhere. When people in a social environment begin talking about the anti-Semitism, the situation in Israel, etc., I have stopped joining in the conversation. I need to look after myself. My anxiety levels have never been so high. When you spoke about living in a more silent world, I was with you. Most people I know have music playing when they are doing housework and cooking. I have friends who don't understand me when I say I don't have music playing or the radio on all day long. According to some in my family and amongst my friends, I am odd because my phone is always on silent. It vibrates when someone calls, but otherwise, everything else can wait. Someone once asked me how I manage this. My answer? I grew up without a mobile phone and a world which was not instant. Absolutely nothing is that important that I need to know about it instantly. And if there is an emergency, I will know. I have always valued silence. It gives me thinking time. I don't need constant noise around me. I never have. And I talk to Hashem, usually after I have said my tefillot at night, when I have switched off my bedside light. It is quiet. There's nothing to distract me. I take deep breaths and I lay on my pillow and I have my one-way conversation with Hashem. I hope I am being heard. Sometimes I drop off to sleep amid conversation. Then I wake up realizing I haven't finished this conversation and continue. Wherever we are, there is noise and light. As a teenager, I used to go camping and have wonderful memories of lying on the grass in a field at night, just watching the sky. There was complete silence and complete darkness. It gave me a truly spiritual feeling. Such a scenario is almost impossible to find now. The closest I got to that was during COVID, when there were no planes flying and fewer cars on the road. The lack of noise was really noticeable. I have wonderful memories as a child of sitting in the dark in our lounge at home, watching the coal embers in the fireplace glowing and imagining they were village houses with the lights going on and off. These were special times, sadly long gone. I'm trying to get on with everyday life, and I have realized that I cannot let my anxiety stop me from functioning. I am busy and involved in all aspects of life. Perhaps I need to find a counselor. I've started investigating that route, but in the meantime, I need to manage my feelings. So I do not engage in conversations or activities which are causing me to be anxious. I catch the news headlines once a day as I need to know what is going on. I have not yet come off Facebook, but skip through everything which is not relevant to my life. I only have the radio on in the car, and then I listen to music I enjoy. I savor the quiet times, being alone in the house, going for a walk on my own, and not being chained to my mobile. However, I feel that silence is more than the absence of noise. Our internal chatter also contributes to the lack of silence in our lives. The constant pressure of the list of things we need to do in our heads. Plus, we seem to be uncomfortable just sitting and being. Perhaps it's no wonder we immediately check our email or social media as a distraction. This can then become a vicious circle as we then have even more things to attend to or compare ourselves with. Silence isn't just about being away from noise and other stimuli. It's about giving ourselves the space to grow, think, and breathe. This is what I am now trying to achieve. Thank you for reminding me how important my self-care is. Isn't it amazing that this was written before yesterday? And how much we all needed to hear that. I remember hearing a story about a great tzaddik, a great rabbi in, we're talking about probably 150 years ago. And they'd installed a telephone into his house so that more people could be in touch with him. And someone had come to visit him and the phone was ringing. And they said to him, why aren't you picking up the phone? The phone's ringing. So he said, the phone is there for me. It's for my convenience. So when it's convenient for me, I will pick up the phone. If it's not convenient for me, I'm having a conversation with you, I'm not going to pick up the phone. And I know how many, we all do this, but when you're in a meeting with someone and you get a message on your phone, now it's even worse if you've got a watch. I hate those watches, but if you've got a watch and you see the message, you're not really present with the person you're speaking to. So even before we go to silence, just in a conversation, and I also have my phone on vibrate, but if I know it's vibrating, and there are times when I do need to pick up my phone, if my kids are stuck somewhere, I do need to answer it. But most of the time, it's not that. The tool that is there for our convenience and to help us and meant to be there to be able to support us and carry, and it does the most incredible things. But it's also become something that's causing us so much anxiety and need to be on all the time. We talk about the phone being like a dopamine hit. It really is. They're so clever how they design these phones, and social media even more. It's a drug. It stimulates the parts in our brain like a drug does, that you need more and more and more and more. It's so clever. It's designed to do that. And if we can go to the other side and we can think about just to be, this new fad of mindfulness, it's not new. Many of us did that when, like the camping idea. You go out into fields. I remember when I was young, I did camp in America many times for children with special needs. And what's wonderful, you're out in the mountains and there's no electric lights. Once the lights go out, that's it. So you lie in the middle of a field and the stars are amazing. You can't see stars like that here. You really need to go somewhere where there's no light. And then you look up at those stars. So now we've got new words for it, mindfulness and the practice of it. But it's something that we all intrinsically knew how to do. Just to be. Just to be. Okay. Dear Jacqueline, thank you for this morning's talk. As always, interesting and thoughtful. This was interesting feedback, which I saw because we were talking about doing this series. I think we have to be careful not to turn it into a breakfast and learn. There is lunch and learn, but hold on to finding truth for ourselves by discussion. So I've definitely read that and I agree with that. And when people send in things, it makes it easier that we've got a lot to discuss today. So, I'm not just saying send the emails in so we can make another book, which would be helpful, but send the emails in because it really, we learn so much from each other. People need to explore what they feel and can learn from others who are looking to find what makes us better humans and better Jews. I've been reading a fascinating book on the writings of Albert Einstein, who struggled with many aspects of life, including his Judaism, Zionism, and pacifism, and how humans need to live a better life in peace and security. The questions that we discuss, he wrote about in the 1920s and 1930s, using the same questions and looking for the answers as we do. So what we do is nowhere new, but for a new generation as we are, it is new. It's also interesting that we still do not have the answers, but we have many questions which we can delve into and try to find what life is all about. We need something to guide us, and while it used to be that before the age of enlightenment, people did not question the existence of the one God, today we do, as we have knowledge of an outside world and reasons why life started scientifically. However, this does not explain so many things that happen, many of which cannot be explained rationally, and that is what we look for each week with you. We had a cab ride the other day, and the driver was of Pakistan origin, but he was second generation and his children are third. We did not let him know our religion, as we thought better to keep it quiet, but we discussed what is happening in the UK, and of course we got around to religion. He said something which we thought was interesting, which was that his God, the one God, was the master of all that happens. It is his plan, and only his plan he has for each and everybody, that makes things happen. So the driver submits to the will of his God. We explained that we can question the plan as we have free will, which he agreed with. He does a lot of interfaith work and has respect for all faiths. As always, we said that the more we talk, the closer we discover we are very alike. The 45-minute ride was very short, but worthwhile, as we saw each other as humans with a similar belief and family ties that anchor us. We did tell him we were Jewish, as he thought we might be Christians. The difference, I think, do you know why they thought that they might be Christians? Because they were talking about God, right? Do you remember we said this? That we're like, as Jews, we're not very good at talking about God. So when you start having conversations about God, then people think, oh, maybe they're Christian. No, we're Jewish. We talk about God too. The difference, I think, is that we do question and discuss our laws and belief, as we do not always have that certainty of God as he does. Should we be happy knowing we have something unexplained which seems to guide us and help us live a life which has sadness and great joy at the same time? If you believe that your life is mapped out and whatever you do is God's will, then I feel you are not responsible for any bad things you do. He believed that you should live a good and honest life and pray 5 times a day if you can, but do not argue with God. Not my way. The easy answer may be to just give in and accept what is thrown at us and never question the will of God, as he knows best. I just cannot accept that, as I want to know why. Let us continue looking for words of explanation from very learned people who, like us, wanted to find out why things happened and for what reasons. I hope this makes a little sense, but if not, bin it. It makes a lot of sense, and it was very helpful, I think, to share with people as well. It is an interesting, I don't know enough about Islam, but I do know a little. I don't know enough about most religions, but I do know a little bit in terms of Christianity, that the idea is that you don't question, right? They very strongly believe, especially I think in Catholicism, in blind faith. Ours is to do, we don't question. And we've discussed this here. In Judaism, we're allowed to question. In Judaism, we're allowed to come with things that we don't understand, with things that we find difficult. It's okay. That's what's allowed. That's what, not just allowed, that's what great people in our tradition did. Moshe being one of them, right? That's what we do. That's how we have a relationship that's real with Hashem. I saw a really special interview. Unfortunately, a lot of the clips now that are coming out about the hostages aren't being translated. And my Hebrew is not brilliant, so I'm struggling with that because there's so much in there that I want to share, but it's hard to translate it. But I saw an interview that Emily Damari did, the most gorgeous thing. You can see that the people who are interviewing her are adults with special needs. So she's sitting with this group of adults with special needs who are asking her questions, and she's explaining it to them. And I think one of the reasons that I found that so powerful was because everyone needs to, everyone needs to try to work their way around what's happening. So these individuals with special needs, they also need to try to get their head around what's going on. You know, they knew about the hostages, they've been praying for them. So yes, maybe they don't understand it to the same extent that we do, but everyone needs to try, and everyone has questions. And I just found it so beautiful. Like I said, it's a shame it's in Hebrew. But one of the young men asked her a question about her faith. Emunah, that word we know, right? I understood that word straight away. And she said that her faith wasn't like the sort of faith that we maybe talk about. She said it was a very clear, in the tunnels of Gaza, it was a very clear, or in captivity, wherever she was, it was a very clear relationship between her and Hashem. You know, you're talking about a kibbutznik, remember that, right? It was so clear to her that the relationship to God, and it's a story she has shared before, but the way she explained it was so beautiful, that she said it was coming to her mother's birthday, and the girls that she was with, they knew that the only thing she desperately needed to know if her mother was alive, because she'd been taken from the kibbutz, and she knew that, she didn't know what had happened, but she knew people had been killed. And she'd shared with her friends that if her mother wasn't alive, she had nothing to survive for. Like, she wasn't going to survive this. The only, like, you know, to know if her mother was okay, that's all that mattered to her. And it was coming very close to her birthday. And, you know, she had this relationship with Hashem, and she said, you know, if I, like, how can I not know if my mother's even alive? And she said it was at 2 o'clock or 2:30 in the morning. And at that point, she had access to a television. And her mother came on the television. And her mother was talking, she said, I'm not political. You know, I don't have an agenda here. I just want my daughter home. And she said, like, Hashem just clearly showed her that sign, just when she needed it. And some people here have shared with us when they've clearly just seen that sign just when they needed it. And some people have merit that relationship with Hashem. And some people have that at some points in their life. And some people don't have that at some people. And some people have never felt that. And it's all okay. Because we all have a spectrum of relationship. If you think about anyone that you love, things change and things go in waves. And people have shared here in such a raw and real way. A real relationship. Because that's what it is with Hashem. It's real. And one of the challenges when you can't see someone, you know, if you've ever had a relationship with someone who's very far away, before FaceTime, before WhatsApp video, before being able to send pictures even, you know, the old-fashioned pen pal, whatever it was, anyone who has someone, or maybe even someone that they have a relationship with that they're not in touch with anymore. It happens. You can still have a relationship even if you don't always feel that certainty in the relationship. We can all have that. Now, I have some friends from when I was in school who we were such close, good friends. And one of them, crazy. I mean, to me, it's crazy. Oh, I wanted to share two beautiful things. First of all, I get a mazel tov that I'm now a great aunt, which I can't quite get my head around. But my sister, who's 1.5 years older than me, is a grandmother. Unbelievable. My father, who's going to be 70 this year, but is now a great grandfather. Like, how does that happen? I don't know. She's very young. She's 6 months older than Reuben, so I really can't get my head around it. And we have another wonderful mazel tov, which is Simone has a new grandson, which is so exciting as well. So we must share the good news, the wonderful news. I forgot what I was saying. Why did I bring it? Yes, so thank you. So some of my friends, thank you. Some of my friends from school, one of my friend's daughters got married last year in Manchester, and she invited me, and I went to the wedding, and I hadn't seen some of those friends since we'd been in school. But even though I haven't seen them for so long, I was telling them actually about our group and the book that I was writing. That was one of my friends who I haven't actually, she sat shiva for her father, so I went to the shiva. But other than that, like no contact at all in 23 years, whatever it is, right? But unbelievably, there's a love and a bond that's still there. And I was thinking about if there's a way of connecting that with Hashem. Because sometimes, maybe at one point in our life, we felt that tight hug. Maybe many points. Some people feel it all the time. But even if we haven't, knowing that it's there and we need to uncover it and we need to connect to it. The video that I shared with you with Rebbetzen, he shared that, you know, even when we went to speak to him, even though Hashem doesn't answer us with words, he answers us with actions. So sometimes it's about hearing Emily's story and knowing that I can also strive for that relationship. I might not feel it right now, but I can strive for it. I can also try to ask God to show me the signs for the things that I'm struggling with. And sometimes, you know, the joke about the guy who's there's one with like looking for a parking space. God, please help me find that. And then oh, don't worry, God, it's sorted. I found the parking space. Or the same thing with sending the boat and then the helicopter, and then it's, you know, and where were you, God? And then the idea was I sent you a boat and a helicopter, right? So sometimes I think it's the signs are there and God is speaking to us, and sometimes we just need to get it through our thick skull, you know, like he's sending you all these signs. And unfortunately, sometimes the signs are really challenging, difficult signs. And the messages maybe are the same, because maybe we've been sitting here and we've been talking about the importance of doing more Jewish things, the importance of being proud of Jews, the importance of caring about each other, of not having baseless hatred. Maybe we need to learn those lessons. I know for us personally, we've even just since yesterday, we said, you know, yes, theoretically we spoke about unity, but actually, what about all the annoying people? You've got to be united with them as well. You've got to find love for them too. What about the difficult people? What about the people that you just don't get on with? It's about them too. You know, on Bonsai Beach, it didn't matter who you were, what shul you belonged to, what religion you were part of, who your friends were. We were one people. Everyone wanted to protect everyone else from evil. Evil doesn't distinguish. Okay, so this, yeah, okay. I've been thinking about faith and when my journey started, because that's how I'm imagining this process. It's like a long path, which I'm taking one step at a time. I believe it all started in earnest with the Bat Mitzvah group in 2019, just before we realized what a huge impact COVID would have on us all. Then, when it was taken away, I realized how important going to Shul on Shabbat had been. It was such a joy when Shul opened up a little and we could pray together. Studying Hebrew reading with Rabbi Elchanan was a major step along the way, as I was never encouraged to attend Cheder when a child. There is a new Hebrew reading crash course. Anyone who's done it, it's brilliant. Please, 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 if you don't know how to read Hebrew fluently, this is the course for you. It's starting in January. Do it. It just opens up doors when you can open a siddur and you can read the words. There's no reason why anyone needs to feel like, oh, it's not for me or I'm embarrassed. So many people in this room as well have done the course. It's brilliant. So that's just a little plug there. And then came the singing group and the women's talks at your home. At the same time, I started going to Lunch and Learn, which really opened my mind and heart to the whole Jewish story. And so it continued, always thinking and searching for more evidence, but always practicing Judaism along the way. Our Emunah class on a Monday morning has become the focus of my week, as I suspect it has for others too. Me too. and sustains me on my way through this pathway we call life towards our goal, living the best Jewish life possible through faith in God. I think it is amazing if we think back on how we all come together to share, to talk, to learn and to grow. And everyone's on their own pathway and everyone's on their own journey and everyone comes with different baggage along the way. But we're all here together. And there's something that's so wonderful about that we're all on this journey. And one of the things we've spoken about before, and I continue to encourage people to do, is just because we finish at 10:30-ish, stay, talk to each other, discuss important things. Because this isn't just the, Shabbat morning at the Kiddush saying, Shabbat Shalom, how are you? How's your week? You can really get into the kishkas of things here, right? You can really talk things. We talk about real challenges, real questions, real thoughts together. We talk about God here. It's a wonderful, wonderful space. But I know that it's a lot of me doing the talking through what you send to me. But stay after, have a discussion, go out for a coffee. Keep the conversation going. This is our work right now. This is where, as we shared, and it's printed in the beginning of the book, the words from Rav Berkowitz, right now, Emunah is where it's all at. This is what all of us, we're all on those steps towards Mashiach, right? We are all in a place that's not meant to make us feel scared. It's meant to reassure us that we're meant to be working together on faith. Let's keep talking about it. To dream the impossible dream. I first heard the song The Impossible Dream in a musical called The Man of La Mancha. Is that right? How I pronounce it? In that moment, I felt I had found a kindred spirit. The words seemed to echo everything I had been thinking, everything I had long felt but hadn't yet put into words. Here was a man, burdened by the weight of the world, who still dared to dream the impossible dream. He reminded me that we are not only called to be who we are meant to be, or to stand where we are meant to stand, but to go further, to take the gifts we have been given and use them to leave the world better than we found it. I love this because we're building on that idea of every one of us is where we're meant to be, but yet at the same time, we can build on that more. So yes, we're meant to be where we find ourselves, wherever we find ourselves in life. But at the same time, we're here for a reason. We have a purpose. There is so much to do, and though we may not be the ones to finish the work, surely we owe it to our children to begin. Each of us carries a dream, a mountain to climb. And as the years pass, the time to fulfill that dream grows shorter. So we must be brave. We must be noble. We must do the things we've always known needed doing, whether that means picking up the baton of leadership or simply walking beside a fellow traveler who needs support. That day, I made a quiet decision. This would be my aspiration. This would be the measure of my success. Not wealth or recognition, but the courage to dream, to strive, and to serve. That's just beautiful. I love the idea of each one of us can lead. And sometimes the leadership looks like walking next to someone and helping them along their way. Because that's a silent, a quiet type of leadership, companionship. Each one of us can do that. Each one of us can do that for someone in the room. When we read out these letters, remember that, someone in the room is sharing this. They're sharing their very real struggle in a very raw and real way. Why we must be counted. In Judaism, silence in the face of injustice is never neutral. When we witness anti-Semitism, whether subtle or overt, we are called to respond, not retreat. The Torah commands, do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. To be counted is to affirm dignity, truth, and memory. Our history teaches that hatred thrives when good people remain invisible. Being counted means we refuse to let others define us through fear or distortion. It's not just resistance, it's responsibility. To speak up is to honor those who came before us and to protect those who come after us. I think that this idea of showing up, of being there, of doing, like we said, there's no coincidences. The attack yesterday happened as Hanukkah began. And in a way, I think we all knew what we had to do, even though it was hard. We had to show up. And we had to gather together. And those people who didn't want to come to a public lighting or to come to a communal lighting, that's okay as well. But we can allow the fear to overtake us. We can. That's a really difficult place to be. Or we can decide that we are going to, despite the fear, we're going to continue to be louder, prouder Jews. I wanted to share a few thoughts that, again, different things have been passed around, but some of them was just since yesterday. Thoughts that I thought were very powerful. So this is something that was written by someone called Fagan Nathan, called Tonight Will Be Hanukkah. Tonight it will be Hanukkah. We will raise our shamash and say Shechianu and light the very first candle. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Tisha B'Av. Families will sit on the floor and grieve, and we will all feel the horror and pain of being Jewish as our blood runs through the streets of the world. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Pesach. In our hand we will hold a candle, but in the other we will hold our figurative cup of wine and sing V'hisha Amda, that even though every generation, right? We will think about the enemies that do not succeed, the terrorists that are part of a millennia of failed attempts to destroy us, to make us go away. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Purim, and we will offer thanks for the bombs that did not detonate, for the hero that stopped the bloodshed, for the plans that were foiled, and the lives that were saved, and for being a people that cannot be wiped out, no matter how hard they try. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Simchat Torah, when we can remember the horrors of just 2 years ago and still embrace the mission we've been given. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Motzei Yom Kippur, as we stepped cleansed into a new year and were horrified to learn that in Manchester, the bloodshed of the Jewish people continued. Tonight it will be Hanukkah, but also it will be Sukkot, and we will sit under the canopy of the Shekhinah, of the divine presence, knowing so deeply how vulnerable we are. We will remind ourselves of the one that never slumbers nor sleeps. Tonight it will be Hanukkah. We will not stop spreading the light and publicizing the nest, the miracle. No one will extinguish our spirit or dampen our beliefs. Nobody carries the mission of light to the darkest places like a Chabad shliach on a mission, or really any Jew holding a candle, being a flame. We are broken, really crushed, but not crushed at all. We are grieving and hurting and holding our candles, ready to light. We are Jews, and tonight it will be Hanukkah. The miracle of Hanukkah, part of the miracle was that they found a tiny jar of Shemen Zayit Zach, which means the extra virgin olive oil, right? The finest, purest form of olive oil. And there is a hiddur, a beautification you can do of the mitzvah of lighting menorah, which is to light with oil, which we do in our home. And think about how that oil is made. That oil is made by crushing those olives, by squeezing those olives. Sometimes our light does come out brighter from the terrible, terrible crushing, squeezing, awful things that happen to us. And it doesn't answer the question of why those things happen to us. But we have all seen in the 2.5 years how as a people, as a community, as a group here together, we're shining brighter than we ever have. So yes, we are broken. Yes, we are despairing. Yes, we are scared. Yes, we are anxious. Yes, we are crying. But we're also shining brighter. What I was going to speak about today was the videos that have been circulating of the beautiful sick. On Motzei Shabbat, on Saturday night, I watched an hour-long film that was streamed in Israel. And again, I don't understand all the Hebrew. Those of you who saw it, who do understand the Hebrew, will know more than me. And I really wasn't sure if I should be watching it or not. And I know I spoke to someone here who said they can't look at the clips. We know that these 6 people were killed. There definitely is part of the messaging that came through from Israel on this documentary, that the families want to make sure that whoever is responsible is held to account, and that there should be a proper investigation. Thank you for the word. A proper investigation. And again, I'm not bringing politics here, but that's the wishes of the family, and they are right to want to share that. But I don't think that was the only reason they wanted this video to go out. I don't know how long they've had these videos. It wasn't, just the last few days, but obviously the timing with Hanukkah, this was when they wanted the message to come to the world. And there was one part of the clip, I actually took a picture of it, and I will share it on the group. Again, if anyone's not on the group, please come up to me so that I can add you. But there was one part of the clip that had the menorah that they had made from coffee cups upside down. They had 2 candles. And if you did see the thing, they're talking about that there's not enough oxygen there to light the candles, but then the candle does actually light. But they have a picture at one point with the menorah, and in the background is the menorah from Germany, where you see the swastika, that famous picture with the swastikas in the background. So the documentary has overlaid, you've got the hostages, the beautiful 6's menorah, the menorah from the Holocaust, and then the swastikas hanging down in Germany. And you can actually hear Hirsch, Goldberg Polin, that says that this is like, they talk about this being like the Holocaust. And they talk about the verses of Ma'oz Tzur, and they're singing those verses together, the verses of Ma'oz Tzur. And I think, again, it's Hirsch that says there's 6 verses. They're going to need to write a 7th there for what's happening now. The verses go through how in every generation, different periods in history, they've tried to destroy us. The one to do with Hanukkah is Yevanim nikbetzu alai. The Greeks tried to destroy us. Right? The words are beautiful. It's really something to read through together. Let's see if I can find it quickly. But when you're lighting your menorah, open your siddur, look at the words. Let's see if I can quickly find it. Refuge, rock of my salvation, to you it is a delight to give praise. Restore my house of prayer so that there I may offer you thanksgiving. When you silence the loud-mouthed foe, then will I complete with song and psalm the altar's dedication. And then it goes through each of it talks about the Egyptian, then it talks about in Babylonian, then it talks about Haman. Then this is the one for the Greeks. Then the Greeks gathered against me in the days of the Hashmonaim, the Hasmoneans. They broke down the walls of my towers and defiled all the oils. But from the last remaining flask, a miracle was wrought for your beloved. Therefore, the sages ordained these 8 days for song and praise. Now, the last paragraph, which apparently isn't the United Synagogue Minhag, but it's truly beautiful. Bear your holy arm and hasten the time of salvation. Take retribution against the evil nation on behalf of your servants. For deliverance has been too long delayed. There seems no end to the evil days. thrust the enemy into the darkness of death, and established us, the 7 shepherds. So that last verse. Ki archa lanu hayeshua ve'ein kates limei hara'a. The deliverance has been too long delayed. There seems no end to the evil days. So as they discussed in that tunnel, the fact that we need another verse, but actually I think this verse is probably how we're all feeling. I think that sums it up. This is going on too long, and the evil is too much. It feels like never ending. But then also this idea that Hashem is going to thrust the enemy into the darkness of death. We say this on Seder night as well when we go out and we open the door. The idea that Hashem, we need you to sort this out. Hashem, this is too much for us. We can't bear this anymore. It's too much. But we have to tell him that. We have to talk to him. We have to cry to him. We have to tell him we've had enough. It's no good we can, the first letter that I shared, we can talk amongst ourselves about anti-Semitism and is it safe anywhere in the world and what should we do? We can do that. But I haven't yet heard of anyone who has a solution or anyone who has an answer. So how helpful is that? How much is that going to help? It's a little bit like when you've got a complaint to make and you're going to some office, some government office somewhere, and just you're like talking to the wrong person. They're just not listening. And you can bang your head against the wall and you can shout at them till you're blue in the face. But if they're not the one who's in control of the situation, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of challenge. Is that really, really helping? Or what we could do is we can go to the king. Come to the court. Go to the top, exactly. Go to the king. Yeah. So if you wanted to speak to King Charles, I don't even know if you would ever get an appointment, right? It's impossible. The amazing thing is, you don't even need this. You can use this if you want, but you don't even need this. Just talk to him. And he's listening. He wants to hear from us. And maybe, there's a little bit in why all these terrible things happen. I never give answers. But maybe part of it is he wants us to talk to him. He wants us to stop reaching out, desperately trying to find help from people who can't help us. He wants us to reach out to him. Maybe that helpless feeling that we're feeling is so that we stop thinking that the Yeshua, the salvation is coming from everywhere else and everyone else. Maybe we need to just have that conversation or to sit in silence with him. Maybe that's what we need to do to have that relationship.
So yesterday morning, I got WhatsApp message from my cousin, very the news or anything, to say that just let me know family's okay. Your son-in-law at Bondi Beach, the 2 daughters got lost in the year. What was happening, but to let you know that everything's okay. And then I sent a message to my sister's best friend that lives on Bondi, and said that we're okay. She sent a message back saying, Hashem saved me today, which made me believe that she was there. What I didn't know was until 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday, the only time to speak to her. I said, "Are you okay?" And she said that she was running away when the shots were ringing. She was running with a young man of 20 years old who got shot and killed. She feels guilty. She's okay. She feels guilty that she left him dead on the floor and said, I don't know what I should have done. It's the right thing. all about saving life. You couldn't save his life, but you saved your life. And it was her rabbi that was killed. So she's going through all this guilt, having her rabbi be killed and her being saved. And you don't have any words. You know, you can delve deep and say, God had his reason for saving you and not saving him. But for her, it's a massive virtue that she survived, and this young boy, mine didn't, and her rabbi didn't. And there is extreme evil in the world.
I'm so sorry, sis. That's really not for her. I saw an interview with one of the people who was shot in Manchester, and he knows that the bullet went through him and killed the person next to him. And I think, you say survivor's guilt. You think about every one of the hostages who was saved now, what they're walking around knowing that.
One interview and they did wrong. It's very short. You think, you're free. Nightmare. One wish to go back to what we did. Like, what would life be like for all of us here if we went back to October 6th and we haven't enjoyed in the past 2 or 3 years? It's changed every single one of us in whatever way it has, but it has changed everything, and it's changed the world. It's changed the world. The world has become a much more evil, horrible place since October the 2nd. And I just thought that was so profound. I've watched so many videos, and you hear all these different lovely miracles of this and that. And he just sat there and said, my one wish would be to turn the clock back to October the 6th. And wouldn't we all? And we literally wouldn't we all?
And yet we don't run the world, and we don't understand why Hashem does what he does. And as much as, of course, we would want to turn the clock back, we can't, but we can also focus on how much this has forced all of us to grow. Unfortunately, it's made evil grow. The evil that probably was there, but it's, and I think that we have to, the idea of comparing this to Pesach, and Maoz Tzur does it, and that beautiful poem does it as well. To remember, as terrible as it feels, we will endure. That is the incredible, incredible miracle. That the wave will go down eventually, and it will come back up again, of evilness and anti-Semitism, and that will change. But the one thing that is guaranteed is the Jewish people will still be here, lighting Hanukkah candles, celebrating Pesach, celebrating Purim, celebrating every one of our festivals, Torah, dancing with our Torah, because we will endure. And that's the incredible way that we can look at miracles together with tragedy all at the same time. Because the darker it is, the more you see the light, right? If you're in a room like this and we light a candle, no one will see the candle. If it's really, really dark outside, the light shines brighter. And the more that the world outside, and it's not everyone, but the people in the world outside is evil, the brighter we shine as a people. The more you can see that the Jewish people are amazing. How lucky are we to be part of this incredible people? And I think even with Ram, like you see his holiness shine through. Every one of these brothers and sisters of ours, and even with these, watching the films of the Beautiful Six, which was heartbreaking, knowing that they didn't survive. And whoever needs to answer whatever questions, Hashem had a plan, people did things wrong, it's all part of that. But how blessed are we that we are this people? And hearing them say that blessing of Shechianu v'kimanu v'gianu lazman hazeh, that we are still alive, and we know that they weren't for much longer, but that Hanukkah they were alive. And every single one of us is alive. And we're here and we woke up this morning and we get to be Jewish and we get to practice our Judaism.
And I think we're so lucky in this community to have all these wonderful people to share with. We can go to them, speak to them, and that is
100%.
wonderful.
100%.
Just wanted to say, to dream the impossible dream, if we are two Jewish guys.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. I love the song, but I didn't know it was written. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyone else want to share? Thank you, everyone. We will be meeting next week, and then we will be having a little winter break. Okay. Please, all aggressive self-care, look after them. Just one moment, please. Sorry. There's something amazing that Shana's going to show us.
And she used to be saying about in the car and then finding got shot and she survived miraculously and then she turned it through and she stayed and everything. And so what these are, that's the side.
Yes,
Sorry. So what these are is in Israel's project called Meaningful Because of Something. And each everybody who's been killed, they ask the families to say one positive, like almost a slogan. It could be something they took from their phone from a WhatsApp, or it could be even a lyric of their favourite song. And some of them are really powerful, and they're all positive things to remember that person by, to almost give a positive impact that they left behind with their legacy in the world. And these have been stuck all over Israel on like benches, backstop. And I was just at a congress last week, and they wanted to bring them to the diaspora so that their legacy can be shared. And we thought, we're not putting them up anywhere here. They got tore down. So I just thought, I did it very quickly, put them on a board.
I'm going to read out a few.
And the Shir last night, with loads of who I met, she looked for her boyfriend, and of course I don't know what the actual photographs mean. And she found him, and it's a tattoo. This is the one. This is the one that was next to her that got shot, but she survived miraculously. That was him. And then she gave me some more stickers, and we didn't have Jake's on there. And I just went round to Michael on Sunday morning, and he gave me Jake Marlowe's, which is.
I'm just going to read out a few of them. So this is in memory of Ronnie Grip. Be kind, be good, be you. You've got over here. We will keep your in memory of Sergeant Yahav Mayan. We will keep your smile forever. Love your neighbor even if they are not like you. So there's just anyone who wants to come and see some of these are just incredible. And thank you, Shana, because she hasn't stopped thinking of incredible ways for us all to connect with Israel, with those we've lost, with the hostages. This unbelievable lady, non-stop, really. So thank you for bringing us another beautiful. They both of them have English.
They've all got a barcode, so you can actually read about the person. Like,
It's really unbelievable.